calls me on the phone says, I want to be a thought leader. And my first comment when people say that is, okay, but first you have to have some thoughts. Right? Because it's one thing to want to be a thought leader. It's another thing to actually have some thoughts that are really rich and vibrant and unique and up to date and modern and leading edge or really quality. So that's the first thing. But assuming you have the thoughts. Nobody gets to thought leadership today just sort of like that and overnight. There's generally a process to building to thought leadership. In terms of the modern marketing pyramid, way at the bottom or the base of the modern marketing pyramid is what I call platform development. And that's really where you're designing your business. And that platform is composed of three very important things. So one thing in the platform that's important is your website. You know, if your website is not modern, up-to-date, well-written, well-branded, doesn't meet the marketing criteria for lead generation and lead nurturing and lead capture, you don't have a contemporary modern website, you don't really have a platform that you can spring from. And that website has to do a couple of things. One, it has to be well branded, meaning that you've got to have the colors, the fonts, the way it's designed be modern and contemporary. The other thing that you need in a platform is you need your social media to be consistent with your website. The messages of your social media from a brand perspective have to tie into your website and look like they're the same person. They have to match in message and in meaning. And then the other thing you need for a platform is you really need to have your brand well articulated. So again, how many of you, when you go to a cocktail party, because I think the cocktail party is always the perfect model for this. How many of you, when you go to a cocktail party and someone says, what do? You like go into a sweat and a panic and you think, I hate that question. I hate having to answer, what do I do or what's my book about? How many of you go into sweat and panic over what do I do? Okay, how many of you don't go into sweat and panic, but it takes you an hour and a half to actually explain it? Okay, so usually there's either a huge confusion about the brand or there's just too much talking about the brand. There's not usually really a clearly articulated, unique branding proposition distinction of this is who I am, this is what I do, this is what my book is about, this is what my business is about, this is why I do what I do, this is why I'm good at it. Very few people have honed that. Part of this platform development is a really clear articulation of that because when you know that, it makes it much easier to have tweets or Facebook or LinkedIn or, any of that that's on track and on message. There has to be this congruity and this parallel between those things for it to really work. So the one last example I'll give you of this is I had a guy who called me on the phone, a dentist, and his website was a mess. So I got him on the phone and I said, look, you have two problems. You're not really consistently tweeting about anything because Twitter was the social media he was using the most. I said, you're not consistently tweeting on brand or on message. And two, your website doesn't really work. And he goes, well, I don't understand that. And he started telling me that his biggest problem was that clients were going to the dentist who was 90 miles to 2 hours away. And he couldn't figure out why clients were going to the guy that was 90 miles to 2 hours away instead of him who's right there within their area. And he was very qualified. So I said, okay, I think part of the problem is your website. He's like, oh, no one pays attention to that. No one pays attention to a website. And I said, well, same thing with your Twitter. You're not really getting good traffic from your Twitter because your Twitter's sort of all over the place. Oh, nobody really pays attention. Okay. So I said, look, we're going to do a little experiment. I said, I want you to pretend you're not you. Just pretend you're someone shopping for this kind of service. Let's go to the guy 90 miles away who's getting a lot of your business. Let's go to his website. So we, get on the computer. We go to the guy's website. So remember, you're not you. You're not Dr. So-and-so. You're just a patient shopping. I say, here's this guy's website. You tell me what your first impressions of this guy's website are. And my guy, the dentist, says, this guy's professional. He knows what he's doing. He's on top of it. He's making it happen. He's quality for money. I said, great. Now, you're not you. You're a person shopping for this surgery, this cosmetic surgery. Let's go over to your website. We go to his website, his dental website, looking at that procedure. I say, what do you think about that dentist from that website? Big moment of silence. And the guy goes, he's a hack. Yeah. So let's look at that guy's tweets. He's like, no, please stop. You're killing me. That's the problem. The problem is that, yes, I have Yale, and yes, I did this, and yes, I'm within 60 minutes, and yes, I meet this criteria. Yes, I sound great on paper, but When people go to my website and when they look at my Twitter and when they look at my social media, I don't look in that space the credibility of who I am. So the very first thing you have to think about to put all of this social media in context is that you've got to have a sense of what the platform is. Once you've got that in place, then the next thing is the brand and the buzz building. And that's really where you start to expand the business. And there are over 40 different strategies you can use to build brand and buzz. Twitter is only one of them. LinkedIn is another one. Facebook is another one. I'm going to talk about Pinterest later on today. We have to pick the strategies we're going to use very carefully. So if you pick Twitter, if Twitter is one of the social media that you think would really work for you because it's where your audience is or because it fits you, then you have to work it in a way that's congruent and consistent with the rest of your message and the rest of your brand. And you have to work it. You can't just get it started and do a little bit here or there. You have to be consistent. So let's say you're doing your brand and your buzz building, and maybe you're blogging, maybe you're doing Twitter, maybe you're doing Facebook, whatever you choose. Then the next level that you get to is the level of thought leadership. And that's where you are a recognized voice in your field. That's where reporters find you, because they know that you are the person in that space or one of the people in that space. That's where usually you have a major book out. That's where you are a known and quoted and expert in the area. And again, most people who come to see me want to be at thought leadership, but without doing the work of the first two, without building the platform and without doing the brand and the buzz building. And the reality is you have to do the first two in order to get to the thought leadership.